I have gathered the best tips I've learned and discovered over the years as a producer and boiled them down into this video. Of course, there's always more to explore, but these are my go-to techniques for creating the perfect vocal reverb. First, we'll go through the different types of reverbs and what each one is best for. Then I've divided the rest of the video into 3 parts. The first section covers important tips and tricks, the ones I almost always use when shaping my vocal reverb. The second section is about creative tips and tricks, ideas to spark inspiration and help you experiment with different tools when crafting vocal reverb. And lastly, we'll look at how to tell if you've gotten too much reverb in your mix. Simple ways to check your balance and make sure your vocals stay clear and upfront. Room reverb sounds realistic and tight, giving your track some liveliness. Not always perfectly balanced, but it makes things feel natural. My go-to room reverbs are Valhalla Vintage Verb, Tai Chi, Sunset Studios, and Fame Studio Reverb.
We are tonight in paradise, you and I, we lighten up the sky. We are alone in paradise, all alone. We are alone in paradise, all alone.
Hall reverb. Hall reverbs replicate the sound of a concert hall, so they have super long decays. It's great for long, lush vocals. If you overuse hall reverbs, it can really muddy up a mix. My go-to hall reverbs are Tai Chi, Valhalla Vintage Verb, and Cubase built-in Revelation.
We are tonight in paradise, you and I, we lighten up the sky. We are alone in paradise, all alone.
Plate reverb. Plate reverb isn't a real room. It's created using a metal plate that vibrates to produce a smooth, bright, and slightly metallic sound. It adds depth and presence to vocals without making them muddy, making it favorite for vocals in modern music. One of the most famous plate reverbs is the EMT 140, used on countless classic recordings. It's known for its rich, smooth tone and natural sounding decay that makes vocals shine and sit perfectly in a mix. My go-to plate reverbs are Super Plate, Arturia Rev 140, and Universal Audio Pure Plate.
We are tonight in paradise, you and I, we lighten up the sky. We are alone in paradise, all alone.
Chamber reverb. Bigger than a room, but smaller than a hall. Warm, classic, and slightly unbalanced in tone. Think vintage 50s, 60s recordings, modeled after an old echo chamber where sound was played through speakers and picked up by distant microphones. Gives a natural, intimate feel.
We are tonight in paradise, you and I, we lighten up the sky. We are alone in paradise, all alone.
Convolution reverb uses impulse responses to recreate real spaces like a church, parking garage, or studio room. My favorite is the built-in convolution reverb in Cubase.
We are tonight in paradise, you and I, we lighten up the sky. We are alone in paradise, all alone.
One cool trick to make your reverb sound truly unique is to load your own samples into a convolution reverb. You don't have to stick to impulse responses. Try using sounds that already have reverb or a long decay, like a vocal tail, a snare hit, or even an ambient texture or impact hit. When you do that, the reverb takes on a completely new character, something that no plugin preset can give you. Important tips and tricks for vocal reverb. Tip number 1. Always treat vocal reverb as an effect, and all your vocal effects should be on a separate aux or effects channel. 3 main reasons for that. 1. You have more control and flexibility, shaping the sound of the reverb. 2. Save CPU, since you now can use the reverb effect on other tracks as well, for example harmonies, doubles, and ad-libs. 3. If you want to print stems to send to a mix engineer, for example, you can have the dry vocal track and the printed reverb as separate tracks. Tip number 2. Pre-delay and decay time. Let's first talk about pre-delay. Pre-delay helps prevent the reverb from sitting directly on top of the vocal, keeping it clear and upfront in the mix. It allows the initial attack of the vocal to remain dry and defined before the reverb tail kicks in. Decay time. Decay time controls how long the reverb lasts after the sound ends. When you set it for vocals, try to find a good balance. If it's too short, the reverb can sound too dry or cut off. If it's too long, it can make the vocals sound muddy or far away. To find a good starting point for the pre-delay and decay time, I like to use some simple math. There are plenty of websites that can convert BPM to milliseconds, and I use one of those to decide which values to try. So, for pre-delay, I simply type in the BPM of my track, and in this example, I would try 17 or 33 milliseconds. I could also try 66 milliseconds, but I believe that is a little too much. There is a risk that the reverb will more act as a slap delay. As a good starting point for the decay time, we could use the same principle. Let's go back to the website and see how long a quarter note is, for example. Okay, then to get a whole note, you can take 4 times 531 milliseconds, and that is approximately 2.1 seconds. This could be a good starting point for the decay time. Tip number 3. Sidechaining the reverb. This is something I use on most of my reverb and delays, and not only on vocals but for almost anything with a reverb or delay in it. The compressor is always last in the insert chain. I route it to my lead vocals, and I always go with a fast attack time. And then the release is something I also calculate. So going back to the website I was referring to in tip number 2, I might use 133 milliseconds, 177 or 265 milliseconds, depending on how they sound. Important to understand that most of the time use these calculated numbers as a starting point. Every mix is different. Always listen to how the reverb breathes with the vocal. You want it to duck just enough to keep the vocal clear, then smoothly return to fill the space in between phrases. Using your ears is always the most important part of the process.
So free my mind, don't wanna waste our time. Waste our time. All I want is you. So free my mind, don't wanna waste our time.
Tip number 4. Use EQ either before or after the reverb. EQ before reverb cleans the signal so the reverb sounds smoother and less muddy, usually by cutting low and harsh high frequencies. This is often called the Abbey Road trick. EQ after reverb shapes the tone of the reverb tail, helping it to fit better in the mix or stand out more. I sometimes EQ both before and after to really shape the sound. Tip number 5. Shaping the reverb with different tools. This tip that I saw from a Jason Joshua video where he uses a ping pong delay as insert 1 before the reverb. This acts as the pre-delay, so this keeps the vocals initially dry, and then behind is all the effects, the tornado. It will give the reverb a bigger and wider feel.
We are alone in paradise, all alone.
You can also use distortion. I love Saturn 2 for this. I have a preset called Vox Verb Shaper, and I have these 3 XY controllers where I can shape the sound easily and get the desired sound fast. Some other common plugins I use here is Decapitator and RC20. Phaser. Applying a phaser on the reverb send track can add a unique, swirling and spacious dimension to the effect, creating a wider stereo image for delays and reverb tails. You can experiment with a slow phaser rate and a moderate number of stages with feedback to smear the effect around the stereo field, enhancing the reverb sound without crowding the central vocal. Using the phaser before or after the reverb shapes the sound quite differently, so try both to see what works the best.
We are tonight in paradise, you and I. We light up the sky. We are alone in paradise, all alone. We are tonight in paradise, you and I. We light up the sky. We are alone in paradise, all alone. We are not in paradise, you and I. We light up. We are alone.
Creative tip number 1. Automation. At the end of each vocal phrase, I sometimes raise the reverb level so it rings out a bit longer. This is usually accompanied by a decay automation as well, so both the level and tail extend together for a more emotional and dynamic effect.
We are tonight in paradise, you and I. We light up the sky. We are alone in paradise, all alone.
Creative tip number 2. Reverse reverb. Create a reversed reverb tail that leads into the vocal. It builds anticipation and makes the vocal entrance feel bigger and more dramatic.
We are tonight in paradise.
Creative tip number 3. Reverb throw. Automate a reverb send only on specific words or phrases, usually at the end of a line. This makes those moments stand out and adds space without washing out the whole vocal.
We are tonight in paradise, you and I. We lighten up the sky. We are alone. Are tonight in we are tonight in paradise.
Creative tip number 4. Reverb on doubles or delays. Instead of putting reverb directly on the lead vocal, try adding it to the vocal doubles or the delays. This keeps the main vocal dry and clear, but still gives you width and atmosphere.
We are tonight in paradise, you and I. We lighten up the sky. We are tonight in paradise, you and I. We lighten up the sky.
How to tell if you have too much reverb in your track. Getting the reverb balance right can be tricky, but here are a few ways to check if you've added too much reverb. 1. Compare to a reference track. Always keep a reference song in your session. Pick something in similar genre and vibe, then quickly A/B between your mix and the reference. If your vocals sound further back or more washed out, you probably have too much reverb. 2. Listen on different speakers and in different rooms. Try playing your mix on different speakers in your studio, in the car, or even on a small Bluetooth speaker like my Marshall Stanmore in the kitchen. If the reverb suddenly feels huge or messy, it's a sign you've gone a bit heavy. Avoid judging reverb only on headphones. They exaggerate stereo width and can trick you into thinking it's less than it really is. 3. Pull it back slightly. Once you feel you're close, try lowering the reverb return by 1 to 3 decibels. Most of the time, it will sound cleaner and more professional. It's common to add too much reverb during mixing, so pulling it back a little is often the right move.